on the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tap, tap, tap.
I first got involved with Dear Evan Hansen when I very happily got a phone call, I think from Stacy Minich's office, our producer, asking me if I would look at a draft and listen to some songs and see if I were interested in coming in and talking to the writers about what I thought of their musical. It didn't have a title at the time. As it turns out, nothing of what I read and none of the songs that I heard ended up being in the musical, but that incredible story about this lonely kid and what he would do to please a lot of other people, that was very much in place. I was incredibly intrigued with the material. I was already fans of all of the young writers, and I very happily agreed to go in and have a conversation with them about what I thought was strongest in the material, where I thought it might develop. And I also talked a lot about the kind of physical world I could imagine for the musical. That conversation went well enough for me to get the job. That was all about 3 years before we actually got to do the production at the Arena Stage in DC.
Wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people.
When I think about transforming a Broadway show for the road, mostly what I have to think about with the designers is how is it going to be possible to recreate the physical world that we created on Broadway with modifications to the set so that the set could actually tour and get from city to city to city. I've been pretty fortunate, mostly because I've been working with some great designers and some really great musicals, that the transitions have not been extreme. I did the national tour of If Then. We started at Denver. We did have to recreate our physical production quite a bit. On Broadway, we had an enormous tilting mirror that we weren't able to travel with. But what we came up with instead was a series of really fantastic video designs, which I think in a lot of ways helped the show and helped clarify the show. It was an improvement in many ways. I think like a lot of kids who felt a little other than or left out of the mainstream in some ways, I gravitated toward the kind of fantasy life and the fantasy lives of the theater. I grew up in New York. By the time I was in high school, I was able to get myself to the theater. I saw a lot of Broadway shows standing room and a lot of shows in a lot of off-Broadway theaters. And I guess I felt like I was drawn into storytelling and hoped that I could participate in that profession. And very fortunately and happily, after training in college and graduate school, I found I could. I think that the Broadway circuit, the Broadway touring circuit, is really vital and really fantastic for the health of all theater in this country. The shows that tour the country, the best shows, give the opportunity of everyone in lots of different cities that opportunity to see live theater at its very best.